Hi guys, in this video I'll be talking about Game Week 20 and which captains options to pick from. I'll also be talking about which players to buy, sell and possibly avoid going into Game Week 20. But before I go on to Game Week 20, I just wanted to quickly show you my Game Week 19 and how everything's looking so far. So I'm on 127 points so far, which has been a very good double game week for me. I've got just two more players left, which is Martinez and Grealish, who have their one more game left to play against Newcastle. And so far, everything's looking great. I mean, I've got Stones in my team, which I'm really happy about. I took the extra hit last minute to get him, so I swapped him out for Kyle Walker-Peters, and I'm so happy I did because he came back with 21 points in the first game. And yeah, amazing. I've also got Justin in my team, which I just wanted to say, he's probably been one of the players that I've really liked this season. I've had him in my team since Game Week 1 and he's just improved so much. And at the beginning there was a lot of talk about how he'll eventually be benched, but I think he's proven himself. You know, he's shown his quality, and each game he's starting to look better and better. And he got 2 clean sheets this double game week, and yeah, 14 points I'm very happy with. Shame he didn't get the bonus point against Chelsea. He probably would have if he scored that goal, but nevertheless, like, he's looking very, very good. And for 4.5 mil, which is what I originally purchased him for, he's doing great. I think he's now 5 mil, probably going to go up by the end of this game week, but he's a great option, especially if you don't have him. I would, you know, if you're looking to get a defender in particular Leicester defender, I think he's a great option to have in your team. So yeah, I think he's very underrated this season, and he's one that I really, really like, and I'm so happy that I've had him in my team since day one. But yeah, as a whole, so far it's looked good. Kind of wish I did captain Stones, which I was thinking about last minute when I switched Kyle Walker-Peters for him, but I just couldn't go through with it and had to leave the captaincy on De Bruyne. But if I did, I would have been even happier with my score, but it's okay. Still got a decent number from De Bruyne. Shame he didn't really produce much in the second game, but it's fine. We take these on as we move on to the next game. Let's talk about which players to buy and possibly sell and also avoid. So let's start off with the players to buy. If you don't have them already in your team, these are two players who obviously already made an impact from double game week 19, and so they're obvious picks, but it's Antonio and Stones. Antonio is 6.3 mil. He actually went up, I think, the day before game week 19 deadline. He was 6.2 and then went up to 6.3 before he even played, and that was because so many people were transferring him in to the team. So I would say, for example, if you do still have Calvert-Lewin in your team, I would just suggest to make sure you transfer him out. We don't know when Calvert-Lewin is due to be back from his injury, so I think Antonio is a good option, especially because it will be able to free up money for your bank as well. So he's now 6.3, possibly going to go up by the end of this game week, which I assume he would. But yeah, he's a good option. He's got a decent fixture next, which is Crystal Palace. They did draw in the first half of the season, but hopefully now that they have Antonio, maybe he can produce something once again. So he's a good option for the time being. And as for Stones, again, 5 mil, decent defender to have in your team. I got him in, like I said, for Kyle Walker-Peters, and I'm so happy I did, because I don't think, for the most people that didn't captain him or triple captain him, did we think would he return such an amazing stat for us and got us 21 points. So fair play to all of you guys that did captain him, and well done to all of you guys that actually did take the risk and triple captain him, because that's going to help with your overall rank for sure. So yeah, these are two great options if you don't have them in your team to buy. And I'd say another honourable mention, looking at this double game week 19 and his performance, is Maddison. He's scored in both the matches, and he also stated in his post-match interview that he's looking to increase his stats, and he's working all the time to improve on his assists and goals. So moving on from game week 19, you can see that he's on form and looking to continue to improve his stats overall. So that is a possible route if you do want Maddison. He's a decent price. I think he's 7.1 mil. He'll probably again go up by the end of this double game week, but he's a good option, and especially if you're looking to downgrade someone like Grealish, then he is a good option. So far, Grealish hasn't really produced against Manchester City, which I don't think we expected anyway. He still does have this game, one more game against Newcastle this game week, but I guess if you're looking to downgrade someone in your team like Grealish, then a good option is Maddison. He is cheaper and he's looking on form, like I said. Again, that might be a knee-jerk reaction, but to be fair, Maddison is looking good at this particular time. So let's talk about which potential players to sell if you do have them in your team. So I think an obvious one, which most people who have him in their team will be looking to take out, is Zuma. And it's just been a very weird situation with Chelsea at the moment. For both the games in this double game week, Zuma was benched against Fulham and Leicester City, which was very strange. You know, at first I thought with Fulham maybe he was tired and was just getting rested, maybe in preparation for the game against Leicester City, which was their tougher fixture for this game week. But he still was benched by Lampard, and Rudiger took his place for both the games. So we are seeing a question mark over Chelsea anyway in terms of management and the board and what's going on. They haven't been on form, and now we're seeing players who have been on form actually get benched for someone else, which I think is quite unfair as well for Zuma. He's been one of the best in the team this season for sure, and he's now getting benched against tougher fixtures like Leicester, which is very bizarre. But yeah, if you're looking to get rid of him and he's in your team, I probably would say you might want to anyway, just because Chelsea don't look great, so it's probably doing you a favour anyway to just getting rid of Zuma out of your team. So potential ones you could bring in are players like Diaz or Stones if you don't have them, or even Cancelo, or if you want someone like Wan-Bissaka, or if you're able to upgrade Zuma, then to someone like Robertson or Trent if you want a Liverpool defender. But personally, if I did have Zuma in my team, I'd be looking to double up on a City defender. And another potential player to sell if you do have them in your team is Vardy. This one you can sit on the fence because Leicester do have some okay fixtures coming up, so holding on to Vardy could be a possibility. But he has blanked in this double game week and he just wasn't able to produce, and that is very frustrating for any Vardy owners. He is 10.1 mil, and for that price you probably want someone that will be able to get some returns, and he just didn't seem to be able to do that this game week. Personally, if I did have Vardy, I would probably try and upgrade him to someone like Kane. If you don't have the funds, I think another good option is Antonio, like I said, if you don't already own him. So let's talk about which players to avoid, and if you haven't guessed it already, I will be talking about Chelsea players. Now that's very surprising to myself for me to even say avoid or be very cautious about a whole team, but the way Chelsea have been playing and the way they've been performing over the past couple of weeks, we already know and we've seen them, they haven't looked good at all. They're on a bad form at the moment, not playing good at all. So there are many reasons why I'm going to say be very cautious and avoid getting any new Chelsea players into your team. So one is, like I said, they've been on a bad form, and we've seen this since the beginning of December. They've lost 5 out of 9 Premier League matches since the beginning of December, and there's now even a bigger question mark over Chelsea, which is at the time of this recording that Lampard's job is at risk and it's looking like he will be sacked soon, and if that's the case it could make things worse. And another reason I do say be very cautious and avoid Chelsea players is that they're very similar to Manchester City, but I think we're seeing it on a more consistent basis, which is Chelsea players are, for the most part, a rotation risk. So I can give you a list of players that on a weekly basis get rotated during matches, and to have them in your team can be very frustrating when you own them. So for example, this double game week alone, we've seen Zuma be benched and Rudiger replace him, and for a lot of Zuma owners that must have been very frustrating to have him in your team for about 5.8 mil. on a double game week and he does not start either matches, he doesn't get subbed on and doesn't get any minutes at all. So that's why I say it's very frustrating for those owners as well as Chelsea supporters to see that. Other examples are, for example, like Reece James, who's coming back from an injury, so we see rotation between him and Azpilicueta. We've seen rotation between Ziyech, Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Werner, Giroud and Abraham. And so that's why I say that most of these players are rotation risks. And these players that I have mentioned are the ones that we actually look for to get us attacking returns. So if I had any of these players that I've mentioned in my team, personally, I would be looking to replace them with someone else. Now, the most consistent players that do start at Chelsea for the most part is Chilwell and Mount, and also Thiago Silva. I also have Chilwell in my team, and my plans going into game week 20 is that I'm thinking of transferring out Chilwell for someone like Diaz. That way I can double up on City defence, as I already have Stones in my team. But even if I did have Mount in my team, I would be looking to transfer him out. And despite the fact that he's scored in this double game week, I personally wouldn't want him in my team. For that price, I would just try and get a better asset in my team. Now, I say this because, like I said, Lampard's job is at risk. And if he does get sacked soon and they bring in a new manager or a new interim manager, their strategies and how they play certain players will most likely change. Now, for example, there's many rumours that Allegri might be the new manager. And say, for example, in a hypothetical example, he does come to the club. We know that he likes to use experienced players. Now, if that's the case, we might not see him use Mount. So that's why I say be very cautious of the players you do have in your team. So as a whole, I've been rambling on, but just be very cautious of Chelsea players. It's quite sad to say, even as a Chelsea supporter myself, but we've seen the way they've been playing and they just don't look good at the moment. And for the price that most of these players are, which for the most part, you could get a better asset into your team for the meantime. So in terms of captain picks for game week 20, there are two obvious ones that most people will be looking to captain for game week 20. So one of them is De Bruyne, where we see Manchester City play against West Bromwich Albion, and the other is Bruno Fernandes, where we will see Manchester United play against Sheffield United. And these games on paper both look like easy fixtures, so these are great captain options for game week 20. And if you have either of them in your team, I would be looking to captain one of those. In terms of differentials, and if you are thinking of straying away from obvious picks like De Bruyne and Fernandes, then I guess a differential would be someone like Grealish. They play against Newcastle for game week 20. That's one that's highlighted as an easy fixture for Aston Villa. I would say though, just wait to maybe see how Aston Villa perform in both their games in double game week 19 before you go ahead to captain any Aston Villa players. And the reason I say this is because obviously some of the players have been hit with COVID and we don't really know how they will play after coming back. So I would say maybe hold off and wait to see their performance in game week 19. Another differential I guess people might be looking at is someone like Maddison. He's performed very well in the past couple of games and is looking to continue his form at the moment. They do play Everton, and I probably would stray away if it was me personally, just because that might be a tough fixture. But if you are looking for a differential, then Maddison could be the one for game week 20. And some other mentions I think are there with De Bruyne and Fernandes are obviously Rashford. I think he's a great option pick for game week 20 if you don't have Bruno Fernandes. And another option for a Manchester City asset, if you do have them in your team, would be someone like Gundogan. I think he's playing really well in the past couple of games. He's been on form. In terms of Spurs players, I personally wouldn't want to go and captain them as they do play Liverpool, and we do know how Mourinho likes to play. They like to sit deep and hit on the counter, and I don't know if Liverpool will actually allow them to do that in the game. We know how Liverpool play and we've seen them beat them already this season so far, so that's why I would avoid captaining either Kane or Son. In terms of any Liverpool players, yes, you could captain someone like Salah or Mane. Personally, even if I had Salah in my team, I wouldn't captain him just because you are most likely to have a better option, whether that be Bruno Fernandes or De Bruyne in your team. So I'd rather captain them than Salah. So these are the captain picks. Let me know what your options are for Game Week 20. So that's all from me in this video. I will be making another video in the next couple of days where I will be showing you my team selection for Game Week 20. If you did enjoy this video, then I'd really appreciate it if you could like, comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Take care. Ciao.